We're excited about this home stretch. I mean, yeah, we've got 3 more weeks of the season. Five, we've been on the road for so much of the past few weeks. To sit there and hear that, 5 of the next 6 are in the field house is, uh, we're certainly looking forward to it. Looking forward to be back in here and hearing the fans. We're going to need them down here down the stretch. We've got Purdue, and we just played them about a week and a half ago. Had a heck of a barn burner at their place in Holloway Gym, and that's been the case when these two programs have gone at each other the past handful of years. It should be another great match, and we're certainly looking forward to it.
Questions for Coach Sheffield?
Coach, you mentioned Purdue. What did you learn about your team after that loss, and did you like how they responded over the next 2 matches?
We didn't play well at all, and but a large portion of that had to do with Purdue and how they play. We never got comfortable in that match. I loved how we just grinded away, and our effort was really good, but we just couldn't get into a place where we were comfortable having any type of rhythm. I'm not sure that we were seeing things real well for whatever reason, and being able to make adjustments as we were going through the match. But that's one of the cool things about playing somebody twice, especially with such short turnaround. You can get in there, watch some film, try to find ways to get better. But I'm not sure there was an element of our game that we were particularly good at. And maybe part of that, yeah, I mean, we've been changing our lineup around quite a bit, and Georgia Chivita got hurt early on in that match, and we were just kind of trying to figure out how we were going to play without her, and actually not sure if she was going to come back into the match or not. And I think that probably played a little bit of maybe the unevenness. We've gotten a little bit settled in on a lineup a little bit more this past couple weeks that that quite frankly I'm pretty excited about. And I think we were better a little bit against Iowa than maybe what we were in some elements against Northwestern, and a little bit better than maybe what we were against Purdue. So our lineup and how we're playing has got to get a little bit more solidified, and hopefully we're heading in that direction.
Diane?
Speaking of your lineup, Jade Demps has kind of stepped in both front row and back row. Can you just talk about her play, especially this past weekend?
Yeah, it's I think we're running our 4 of the 6 rotations. Her and Anna Smrek are kind of, Anna's taking 2 of the rotations, Jade is taking 4, and I think Jade was like 280 on the weekend attacking out of the back row, and we're getting a little bit more comfortable in utilizing a back row attack. That hasn't really been something that we've done too much of the past few years, but that's something that Jade is really good at, and she can get on the ball and work the court and work different depths of the court, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to key in on her. It also makes it tough to trap some other players. There's 2 of the rotations when Dana's up there with Sydney, it makes it a little bit easier to trap her. If you've got no back row attack, now you've got to figure out if you're still wanting to do that when you've got Jade come out of the back row. She continues to get better, and there's a lot of different ways that she can help us. This past weekend, I thought she helped us a lot behind the service line, which has not been something that has been a big part of her game in the past. And I thought she defended well. So I thought Jade's had a really good weekend, and I think she's going to be a big part of us here over these coming weeks.
The Big Ten has been kind of hard to score against, especially your hitting percentage has been a little down, but this past weekend you hit over 300 in both matches. What was the change there, or is it, more opponent or more what your team did?
Yeah, it's hitting percentage is down from what it was, but I think we're still first or second in the conference in hitting percentage. But I think part of that is just we've made a lot of different changes with our lineup as we've gone through, and I don't think we've really gotten I think we're still trying to get comfortable a little bit, offensively and what plays we're going to run, and it's not something I'm overly concerned with, but it's. Offensively, I thought we were a lot better this past week, and that's for sure. And that needs to continue to trend up.
Question from Zach.
You mentioned that kind of new lineup. Is it easier to get into a rhythm with that lineup, or is that just?
Part of it is just we've got to. I think there's a lot we talk about how experienced our players are, and you look at Grace Loberg and Lauren Barnes and Dana Retke and Sydney Hilly, and that's a lot of experience with those guys. But you also have some really, really young players, whether it's Anna Smrek and Jay Demps and Julia Orzol and Devin Robinson. I mean, that's a lot of young players, and then you throw in players like Lauren Jardine, and new player with Jocelyn Boyer, and there's been a lot of things we've had to figure out, and it's taken us probably a little bit longer. Part of that has been due to some injuries we've had to deal with, than maybe what we would have liked, but it's. One of the things I really like about this group is there's every day when we come in, let's just figure out what we're going to do today and try to find a way to get better, and it's a great attitude to coach, and but there's also this fun part of all right, let's explore, let's figure out, and we've got quite a few of options that we haven't really had in the past, which allows us to explore maybe better than what we've done. When if you've got 5, 6, 7 people that can play and not much else behind them, then you're pretty locked in no matter what happens. And so we've been able to move some pieces around. The goal is to try to be as best as we can by the end of the year. Hopefully, that's the way we're trending.